So here's a thought that suddenly occurred to me as I was reviewing something else about the Parsha over Shabbat. In Parshat Bo, which we read obviously quite a few weeks ago, but which relates to and describes the Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus from Egypt, there's a very particular phraseology when the children of Israel are commanded to sacrifice the Pesach, the Paschal lamb, and use its blood on the lintel, on the doorposts of their houses, in order to ensure that the angel of death passes over their homes and doesn't carry out that 10th plague, the plague of the killing of the firstborn. And the phrase is Ish se levet avot se levayet. And what that means is that every individual and every individual household will do this on their own for themselves. And later it says, Shachatu oto kol kahal adat Yisrael, that all of the community of Israel will make that sacrifice, will kill that lamb. V'achluot ha-basar b'layla hazeh. And on that night they will eat that sacrifice, the meat. Now this is a ritual sacrifice, a ritual eating, and then putting the blood on the doorposts, which is particularly and specifically defined as something that only Israel did, only the children of Israel did, not the wider community. But they all did it. In other words, they did it as a community, but they did it on their own. They did it separately, separate together, in order to avoid death, in order to avoid a plague. And we'll all be celebrating our Seders at the same time, forget about time zones, but at the same time in the same community. We'll all be doing it separately, like each of the children of Israel did carry out that sacrifice on their own, in their own homes, but they all did it at the same time. They all did it because of a command to the children of Israel, to our nation, as a religious or spiritual or ritual act to do together, but obviously each one individually. And the fact that it was done in order to avoid death, in order to avoid a plague, really strikes me. And that's what we'll be doing on Seder night. Everybody doing the same thing as a community, as a commandment, with the intention of having a connection, each one to each other, and all of us to our national identity and our community, but doing it separately in order to preserve life, in order to avoid death, in order to avoid that 10th plague. Chag Sameach.